William barely glanced at it. "The system shows nothing and the flight is overbooked. I can offer you a middle seat in economy. It's the last one available." Through the terminal window, Emma noticed another passenger who had arrived after her being escorted to the first-class lounge. When she pointed this out, William's tone became dismissive. "You can take the economy seat or miss your flight entirely. Your choice." Emma felt her cheeks burning as other passengers stared. She had experienced this sort of treatment before, being the only black woman in many professional spaces, but never expected it from Elite Airline, which proudly advertised its commitment to equality. This isn't right," she thought to herself, "but I won't let them see me break." Emma looked at her watch. Her presentation was tomorrow morning, and she couldn't miss this flight. The company was counting on her. Taking a deep breath, she accepted the economy ticket, but asked for William's full name and employee number. His smirk vanished quickly. The middle seat was tight between two large men who both claimed the armrests. Emma sat with her laptop bag on her lap, unable to work during the 7-hour flight. She thought about her father's words. "When life treats you unfairly, respond with grace but never without strength." As the plane reached cruising altitude, Emma noticed something odd. There were 2 empty seats in first class. She quietly took photos with her phone. The flight attendant, Mary, noticed and frowned at her. "Is there a problem?" Mary asked. "Yes," Emma replied calmly. "I was told first class was full, yet I see empty seats." Mary looked uncomfortable. "I'll check with the captain." She never returned to Emma's seat. Emma spent the flight making notes in her phone. This wasn't the first time she had faced discrimination, but it was the first time she had clear evidence. 3 months ago, she had booked and paid for a first-class ticket. She had the confirmation email, the receipt, even a seat assignment, yet somehow her reservation had disappeared while others remained. Next to her, a kind older gentleman named Thomas noticed her distress. "Bad day?" he asked. Emma explained the situation briefly. "That happened to my daughter last month on the same airline," Thomas shared. "She's a doctor. They bumped her to economy with the same excuse." Emma's marketing mind began working. This wasn't just her problem. This was a pattern. She asked Thomas for his daughter's contact information. The plane landed in New York at 6:30 p.m. Emma was tired. Her back hurt from the cramped seat, but her mind was sharp. She had decided not to just let this go. As passengers filed out, she noticed the captain standing near the exit. "Excuse me," she said politely. "I'd like to report a problem with my booking." The captain, whose name badge read John, listened to her story with growing concern. "That shouldn't happen," he said. "I'm sorry you experienced this. Here's my card. Email me the details, and I'll make sure it reaches the right people." Emma thanked him, but new airline complaints often disappeared into a black hole. She would need to do more. At her hotel, Emma created a simple online form. "Have you experienced booking issues with Elite Airline? Please share your story." She shared it on her professional networks. By morning, she had 42 responses. By the time she finished her presentation, which was a great success, the number had grown to over 60. A clear pattern emerged. People of color were disproportionately affected by these system errors. Emma's phone rang. It was her boss, David. "How did it go?" he asked. "We got the contract," Emma replied. "Brilliant. The client loved your presentation. They want you to lead the whole project." Emma should have felt only joy, but the airline incident still bothered her. She told David what happened. "That's terrible," he said. "You know, our company books hundreds of flights with Elite Airline every year. I'm sure they wouldn't want to lose our business." Emma hadn't thought about that angle. Her company was small but growing, and they were part of a larger business network that collectively spent millions on travel. "Maybe I should speak to someone in their corporate office," Emma suggested. "Better yet," David said, "I'll connect you with our travel account manager. They'll want to hear this." That evening, Emma received an email from Elite Airlines customer service offering a refund and a free ticket. It was a form letter that didn't address the real issue. Emma declined the offer and requested a meeting with someone from their executive team instead. She organized her evidence carefully, her original booking, the photos of empty first-class seats, and the growing collection of similar stories. This wasn't just about one seat on one flight anymore. This was about changing a system that treated people unfairly. Emma Collins had gone to the airport expecting a comfortable flight. Instead, she found a cause worth fighting for. The Endemma took a deep breath and made a decision. Instead of causing a scene, she would handle this with the same quiet strength that had carried her through other challenges in life. "I'll need to speak with your manager," she said calmly. The manager, Peter Thompson, arrived looking annoyed. "Miss Collins, we've checked twice. Your first-class ticket simply doesn't exist in our system." Emma noticed how Peter avoided making eye contact. "I understand there might be a glitch," she said, "but I have confirmation right here. Could you please check if anyone else has had similar issues today?" Peter sighed. "Look, take the economy seat or step aside. We have other passengers waiting." As Emma reluctantly accepted the economy boarding pass, she spotted another passenger, an older black man named Oliver James, she would later learn, being told the exact same thing about his first-class reservation. While waiting to board, Emma discreetly began documenting everything. She photographed her original confirmation, recorded conversations on her phone, and made careful notes about what she observed happening to other passengers. She messaged her assistant Lucy, "Book me on tomorrow's competitor flight, please. And contact Robert from legal. This isn't just about my seat anymore." As Emma settled into her cramped middle seat, her determination grew. "They might have taken my seat," she thought, "but they haven't taken my voice." The flight attendant, Penny, moved through the cabin with barely a smile. When Emma asked for water, Penny seemed to ignore her. 10 minutes later, Emma had to ask again. An older white woman across the aisle noticed this. "They're not very friendly today, are they?" she whispered to Emma. Emma shook her head slightly. "Have you flown with Elite Airline before?" "Many times," the woman replied. "I'm Margaret, by the way. I usually fly first class, but today they said my reservation wasn't in the system. Strange, isn't it?" Emma's eyes widened. "The same happened to me. Did you have a confirmation email?" "Of course, booked 3 months ago, but that young man at the counter insisted I was mistaken." Emma pulled out her notebook. "Would you mind telling me more about what happened?" William tapped at his keyboard, his expression changing. "I'm sorry, Ms. Collins, but I don't see your first-class reservation in our system." Emma's heart sank. "That's impossible. I booked it 3 months ago." She pulled out her phone, showing the confirmation email. As Margaret shared her story, Emma noticed key details matched her own experience. The same dismissive treatment, the same refusal to properly check records, the same take-it-or-leave-it attitude. The man seated next to Emma, who had been pretending not to listen, suddenly spoke. "I couldn't help overhearing. My name's George. The same thing happened to my wife last month. She's Indian, I'm not. I had no problems with my booking, but hers mysteriously vanished." Emma's marketing mind began connecting dots. She spent the next hour quietly talking to other passengers around her. By the time the meal service began, she had collected 5 similar stories. All involved passengers who were either women, people of color, or both. During a toilet break, Emma walked through first class. She counted 3 empty seats. She quickly snapped photos with her phone. Back in her seat, Emma opened her laptop. The battery wouldn't last long, but she had enough time to draft an email to Robert, her company's legal advisor. She attached photos and described the pattern she was seeing. The woman sitting in front of Emma turned around. "Sorry to interrupt, but I work for the Times. My name's Jane. I couldn't help noticing what you're doing. Are you building a case against Elite Airline?" Emma hesitated. She hadn't planned to go public, but having a journalist interested might help. "I'm documenting a pattern of what appears to be discriminatory practices," she said carefully. Jane handed Emma her business card. "I'd be interested in hearing more once you have all your evidence." 2 hours into the flight, Oliver James, the older black man Emma had noticed at check-in, walked past her seat toward the toilets. Emma gently touched his arm. "Excuse me, sir. Were you also bumped from first class today?" Oliver looked surprised, then nodded. "Yes, young lady, how did you know?" "The same happened to me. I'm collecting stories from affected passengers. Would you share yours?" Oliver sat in a nearby empty seat. His story matched the others. A confirmed first-class reservation that mysteriously disappeared, rude treatment and no proper explanation. "I've flown first class with Elite for 20 years, Oliver said. Never had this problem until recently. Now it's happened twice in 3 months. Emma's phone battery was now low, but she had enough evidence to know this wasn't coincidence. As Oliver returned to his seat, Emma closed her eyes, not to sleep but to think. The flight attendant Penny passed by. "Excuse me," Emma said. "Could I speak to the head flight attendant?" Penny looked annoyed but nodded. Soon a kind-faced woman named Barbara came to Emma's seat. "How can I help you?" Emma explained the situation calmly. Barbara listened with growing concern. "That's not our policy," Barbara said quietly. "I've worked for Elite for 15 years. If this is happening, it needs to be addressed." Barbara gave Emma her employee number and personal email. "Contact me after you land. I want to help make this right." As the flight began its descent to New York, Emma reviewed her notes. She now had 7 first-hand accounts, photos of empty first-class seats, and a potential ally inside the company. It wasn't just about her anymore. It was about every passenger who had been treated unfairly. Her phone buzzed with a message from Lucy. "Return flight booked with Air Atlantic. Robert will call you tonight. The managing director wants updates." Emma smiled. Her company was behind her. Looking out the window at the approaching New York skyline, she felt a calm determination. This wasn't the end of her journey. It was just the beginning of something much bigger. "They thought I would stay quiet," Emma thought as she prepared for landing. They were wrong. The end, despite the uncomfortable flight, Emma arrived in New York and delivered her presentation brilliantly, securing a major client for her firm. But she couldn't shake what had happened. In her hotel room, Emma started researching. She created an online form and shared it through her professional networks. "Were you downgraded by Elite Airline despite confirmation? Please share your experience." Responses flooded in. Thomas and Mary from Manchester, James and Elizabeth from Liverpool, all with similar stories. When Emma analysed the data, a disturbing pattern emerged. Passengers from minority backgrounds were disproportionately affected by these system errors. Emma contacted her friend Grace, an investigative journalist at The Guardian. "I've found something troubling," she explained. Grace helped Emma connect with consumer rights lawyer Henry Wilson, who specialized in discrimination cases. "This isn't just poor customer service," Henry explained after reviewing Emma's evidence. "This looks systematic." Together, they compiled testimonies, data analyses, and documentation from over 70 affected travelers. The picture became clear. Elite Airline had been silently downgrading minority passengers during overbooked flights, while maintaining a public image of inclusivity. "I don't want compensation," Emma told Henry. "I want change." With her marketing background, Emma knew that real transformation would require reaching those with the power to implement it. She requested a meeting with Elite Airlines executive board. "They think this is about one woman and one flight," she told Grace. "They're about to learn it's much bigger." Emma barely slept that night. She kept thinking about all the people who had shared their stories, people who had been made to feel small, just as she had. By morning, her inbox contained 93 responses to her form. After a quick breakfast, Emma headed to her client meeting. She tried to focus only on the presentation, but her mind kept drifting back to the airline issue. When she finished speaking, the client's CEO stood up and applauded. "That was excellent, Ms. Collins. We'd like to move forward immediately." Emma should have felt only joy, but the success felt hollow. On her way back to the hotel, she called Grace. "Have you read through all the responses?" Grace asked. "Most of them. It's worse than I thought." "I've been doing some digging too," Grace said. "Elite Airline has been using a new booking system for the past year. The company that created it has faced similar complaints from other clients." Emma stopped walking. "So this might be happening on other airlines too?" "Possibly. The system uses something called customer value scoring to decide who gets bumped during overbooking." Emma frowned. "What factors go into that score?" "That's what we need to find out," Grace replied. "My editor has approved a full investigation, but we need more evidence." Back in her hotel room, Emma opened her laptop and created a spreadsheet. She entered data from all the responses, names, dates, destinations, and demographic details that people had shared. The pattern was undeniable. Over 80% of the people reporting these system errors were either women, people of color, or both. Her phone rang. It was Henry Wilson, the lawyer Grace had connected her with. "Ms. Collins, I've reviewed the information you sent over. This is very concerning. Can anything be done about it?" Emma asked. "Absolutely. This appears to violate several anti-discrimination laws, but lawsuits can take years, and companies often settle quietly without changing their practices." Emma sighed. "I don't want money. I want them to stop doing this." "Then we need to approach this differently," Henry suggested. "Instead of threatening legal action immediately, we request a meeting with their board. We present the evidence and offer them a chance to fix the problem. And if they refuse, then we go public with everything," Henry said firmly. "No company wants that kind of publicity." Emma thought about it. "I think you're right. Let me draft a letter." For the next 2 hours, Emma worked on a formal letter to Elite Airlines Board of Directors. She was careful to keep her tone professional but firm. She outlined what had happened to her, mentioned the evidence she had gathered, and requested a meeting to discuss solutions. Before sending it, she called Robert from her company's legal team. "This looks good," Robert said after reading the draft. "But let me add one thing. Our company books over 500 flights with Elite each year. Mentioning that might get their attention." Emma nodded. "Good point." With Robert's additions, Emma sent the letter to Elite Airlines corporate headquarters. She also copied the CEO, the head of customer experience, and the diversity officer listed on their website. While waiting for a response, Emma continued gathering stories. She reached out to Barbara, the flight attendant who had given her contact information. "I've been with Elite for 15 years, Barbara told her over the phone. "Things changed last year when they brought in the new booking system. The computer decides who gets bumped now, not the staff." "Did anyone question this system?" Emma asked. Emma Collins clutched her first-class ticket tightly as she approached the check-in counter at Heathrow Airport. After years of hard work at her marketing firm, she had finally saved enough for this comfortable journey to New York, where she would deliver the most important presentation of her career. "Good morning," she said with a smile to the attendant, a man whose name badge read William. "I'm checking in for flight BA207. "A few of us noticed the pattern," Barbara admitted. "We raised concerns, but management told us the system was mathematically fair and couldn't be biased. This was valuable inside information." Emma thanked Barbara for her courage. 3 days later, Emma received a response from Elite Airline. It was from Patricia Miller, the Chief Customer Officer. "Dear Ms. Collins, we take your concerns seriously and would like to arrange a meeting next week at our London headquarters. Please let us know your availability." Emma forwarded the email to Henry and Grace. "They're listening," she wrote. Before boarding her return flight with a different airline, Emma received another email. This one was from someone using a personal email address rather than a company one. "Ms. Collins, my name is Dorothy Baker. I'm on Elite Airlines Board of Directors. I've read your letter and the evidence you've collected. Some of us have suspected problems with the new booking system, but haven't had proof. Your meeting next week has been scheduled for 30 minutes. They plan to offer you compensation and hope you'll go away quietly. Don't accept it. I'll make sure you get more time to present your full case. This needs to change." Emma smiled as she turned off her phone for the flight home. What had started as one woman's frustration was becoming a movement. The airline thought they could erase her ticket. Now she had the chance to rewrite their entire system. The end. 2 weeks later, Emma sat across from Elite Airlines executive board in London. The room was tense as Chief Executive Officer Richard Palmer opened the meeting. "Ms. Collins, we understand you've had a complaint. We've already offered you compensation and a first-class return ticket." Emma smiled politely. "This isn't about compensation, Mr. Palmer. It's about your company's practices." With quiet confidence, she presented her findings, statistics, testimonials, and documentation showing the pattern of discrimination. She explained how the airline's booking algorithm contained biases that disproportionately flagged certain passengers for downgrading during overbooked flights. Several executives shifted uncomfortably. One board member, Victoria Fenton, whispered, "To Richard, this will go away," Emma overheard. "Actually, it won't," she said calmly. "Major corporate clients are watching how you handle this. I've shared my findings with several of your largest business accounts who have diversity commitments." The room fell silent. "I'm not here for revenge," Emma continued. "I'm here to help you become better." She slid a folder across the table. A comprehensive plan for transparent booking policies, staff training and accountability measures. You have a choice: embrace change or face scrutiny. Either way, these practices end today. As she finished speaking, Emma noticed something she hadn't expected. Tears in the eyes of Dorothy Baker, the only female board member besides Victoria. "Ms. Collins," Dorothy said quietly, "some of us have been trying to address these issues for years. Thank you for bringing the evidence we needed." Emma had arrived at Elite Airline's headquarters an hour early. She wanted time to prepare herself mentally. Henry Wilson, her lawyer, met her in the lobby. "Are you ready?" he asked. Emma nodded. "I've been ready since that day at the airport." They were escorted to a large meeting room on the top floor. The view of London was beautiful, but Emma barely noticed. Her mind was focused on the task ahead. The board members filed in one by one. Emma recognized Richard Palmer, the CEO, from news articles. Victoria Fenton, the chief operations officer, entered with a stern face. 5 other executives followed, all in dark suits. Last to enter was Dorothy Baker, who gave Emma a slight nod. Richard spoke first. "Ms. Collins, we've reviewed your complaint. I want to assure you that Elite Airline takes customer satisfaction very seriously." Emma noticed he said customer satisfaction, not discrimination. This was going to be harder than she thought. "Before we begin," Emma said, "I'd like to clarify that I'm not here alone." She gestured to Henry. "This is Henry Wilson, a lawyer specializing in discrimination cases. And while they couldn't be here today, I also represent the voices of 136 other passengers who have experienced similar treatment." Richard's smile faded slightly. "As I was saying, we've investigated your complaint and found no evidence of systematic issues. However, as a goodwill gesture, we've prepared an offer." He slid an envelope across the table. Emma didn't open it. "Mr. Palmer, with respect, I'm not interested in goodwill gestures. I'm here to discuss a serious problem." Emma opened her laptop and turned it so everyone could see the screen. She had prepared a simple but powerful presentation. Over the past 3 months, Elite Airline has downgraded at least 136 passengers from first or business class, despite confirmed reservations. Of those passengers, 89% were either women, people of color, or both. She clicked to the next slide, showing a graph. This is far beyond random chance. The mathematical probability of this happening without bias is less than 1 in a million, Victoria Fenton interrupted. "Our system doesn't even record passengers' race or gender. How could it be biased?" Emma was ready for this question. "It doesn't need to. Your algorithm uses factors that indirectly correlate with gender and race, like certain names, booking patterns, and even postal codes." Emma showed screenshots from the booking system that Barbara had provided. She explained how the algorithm scored passengers based on factors that seemed neutral, but weren't. Richard leaned forward. "Ms. Collins, these are serious accusations. Our technology team has assured me that the system is purely mathematical." "Mathematics can be biased when the inputs are biased," Emma replied. "Let me show you something else." She played audio recordings from her phone. The dismissive way she had been treated, followed by similar experiences from other passengers. The contrast between how different passengers were addressed was striking. One of the board members, an older man named George Williams, removed his glasses. "This is concerning." Victoria whispered something to Richard, who nodded. "Ms. Collins," Richard said, "we appreciate your thoroughness, but this meeting was scheduled for 30 minutes. We have another appointment shortly." Dorothy Baker spoke. "Up. I think we should extend this meeting, Richard. What Ms. Collins is showing us demands our full attention." Victoria glared at Dorothy. "We have a shareholders' meeting to prepare for." "And what will we tell those shareholders when this goes public?" Dorothy asked pointedly. The room fell silent. Emma seized the moment. "I don't want to harm your company. That's why I came here first, rather than going straight to the media." She looked each board member in the eye. "I've prepared a comprehensive plan for how Elite Airline can address these issues." She distributed copies of her proposal. Clear steps to review and fix the booking algorithm, implement staff training on unconscious bias, and create a transparent system for handling overbookings. "This isn't just about doing what's right," Emma continued. "It's about protecting your business. I've already spoken with representatives from 3 of your largest corporate clients. They're very interested in how you handle this situation." Victoria's face paled. "You've contacted our clients?" "They contacted me," Emma corrected, "after hearing about my experience." Richard looked at the proposal, then at his board members. Some looked worried, others angry. Only Dorothy seemed hopeful. "Ms. Collins," Richard began, "we'll need time to review this." "Of course," Emma replied, "but I should mention that the Guardian will be publishing an article about this issue next week. I've given them all my evidence. How you respond today will be part of that story." Victoria stood up. "This sounds like blackmail." "It's not blackmail," Henry interjected. "It's transparency, something your company claims to value." Dorothy wiped a tear from her eye. "She's right, Victoria. I've been raising concerns about our booking practices for years. Now we have proof of what I suspected." The meeting continued for another 2 hours. By the end, Richard had agreed to form a task force to investigate the algorithm and implement Emma's recommendations. Victoria remained resistant, but she was outvoted. As the meeting concluded, Dorothy approached Emma. "Thank you," she said simply. "Sometimes change needs to come from outside." Emma left the building feeling both exhausted and hopeful. She had stood her ground in a room full of powerful executives. They hadn't all agreed with her, but they had listened, and that was how change began. The end. The story broke in The Guardian a week later. Elite Airline announces major policy overhaul following discrimination investigation. Emma had expected resistance, perhaps even legal threats. Instead, led by Dorothy Baker, the airline chose transformation. They implemented Emma's recommended policies, conducted bias training for all staff, and created a diverse customer experience council, with Emma invited as chairperson. Richard Palmer and Victoria Fenton resigned, replaced by leaders committed to genuine equality. The booking algorithm was completely redesigned with oversight from independent ethics experts. 6 months later, Emma boarded another Elite Airline flight, this time invited as a consultant to assess their progress. The same check-in counter, where her journey began, was now staffed by a diverse team led by William, who had undergone extensive training and now greeted every passenger with authentic respect. "Welcome, Miss Collins," the new flight director said. "Your work has changed not just our airline, but our entire industry." Indeed, other airlines had begun implementing similar reforms, fearing they might be next to face scrutiny. Emma's experience had transformed from a moment of discrimination into a movement for corporate accountability. As she settled into her seat, Emma received a message from Grace. "Your story has inspired thousands. People are standing up everywhere." Emma smiled. Her mother had always told her, "When they go low, you go high and bring others with you." By responding to injustice with dignity rather than rage, she had opened doors not just for herself, but for countless others. Sometimes, Emma thought, the greatest power comes not from erasing careers, but from helping others find their better selves. Emma sat by the window, watching the busy airport workers loading luggage onto the plane. The past 6 months had changed her life in ways she never imagined. The day after the Guardian article was published, Emma's phone had not stopped ringing. News channels wanted interviews. Other airlines called for advice. People from around the world sent messages thanking her for standing up. Dorothy Baker had become the new CEO of Elite Airline. Her first official act was to publicly apologize to all customers who had been treated unfairly. Her second act was to hire Emma's marketing firm to help rebuild the airline's damaged image. Emma looked at her boarding pass, seat 1A, first class. This time, no one questioned her right to be There. Ms. Collins? A flight attendant approached with a glass of orange juice. The captain would like to speak with you before we take off. In the cockpit, Captain James Turner stood up to greet her. It's an honor to have you on board. What you did has made flying better for everyone. Emma smiled. I just wanted to be treated fairly. You did more than that, the captain replied. You made us see things we had been blind to for years. Back in her seat, Emma reviewed the changes Elite Airline had made. The booking algorithm now had a fairness check built into it. When flights were overbooked, the system randomly selected passengers for upgrading or downgrading, regardless of name or address. Every decision could be reviewed and explained. William, the check-in agent who had treated her so poorly 6 months ago, had written her a letter of apology after completing his training. I never thought of myself as biased, he had written. Now I understand that we all have blind spots. Thank you for helping me see mine. Emma gazed out the window as the plane took off. Below, London grew smaller, its patterns of streets and buildings forming a complex web. Life was like that too, everything connected in ways you couldn't always see from the ground. Her phone buzzed with a message from Henry Wilson, the lawyer, who had supported her case. Just signed 3 more airlines to implement the Emma Collins protocol. Your name is becoming a quality standard in the industry. Emma had never sought fame, but she was proud that her experience was helping others. The protocol named after her required companies to regularly test their systems for hidden biases and to listen to customers who reported unfair treatment. As the plane reached cruising altitude, the new customer service director, Mark Johnson, came to chat with Emma. We're tracking our progress carefully, he told her. Complaints about unfair treatment are down by 95%. Staff satisfaction is up by 40%. Even our profits are improving as customers return to us. Emma nodded. People reward companies that treat them with respect. The most surprising change, Mark continued, has been in our staff. When we removed the old system that forced them to make unfair decisions, they became happier and more helpful. William is now one of our top-rated check-in agents. Emma wasn't surprised. Most people wanted to do the right thing when given the chance. Halfway through the flight, Emma visited the economy section. The seats were still cramped. That was the reality of modern air travel. But the atmosphere was different. Flight attendants treated every passenger with equal respect. Small details mattered. Back in first class, Emma opened her laptop to finalize her report. Dorothy had asked her to present her findings at the next board meeting. The airline was considering making Emma's role permanent, Chief Equality Officer, with authority to review all customer-facing policies. Emma wasn't sure if she would accept. Her marketing firm was thriving, partly due to the publicity from the Elite Airline case. Other companies wanted her help in reviewing their systems for fairness. She could help more people by working as a consultant. As the plane began its descent toward New York, Emma's phone buzzed again. It was a message from Oliver James, the older black man she had met on that first flight. Just booked my retirement. Trip around the world on Elite. First class all the way and no problems. Thank you for fighting for all of us. Emma smiled. This was why she had persisted. Not for herself, but for Oliver and countless others who deserved respect. The plane touched down smoothly. As passengers prepared to disembark, the captain's voice came over the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest on board today. Emma Collins helped us become a better airline. Thanks to her courage, flying is now fairer for everyone. The passengers applauded. Emma felt her cheeks grow warm. She hadn't wanted recognition, just change. As she walked through the airport, Emma thought about her journey. One bad experience had led to industry-wide transformation. One voice had spoken for many. One woman had changed a system. She remembered her mother's words again. When they go low, you go high and bring others with you. Emma had gone high, and she had brought an entire industry with her. The end.